Food is more than just what's on our plate. It's the places where it's grown, it's the people who grow it, and so much more. Join me, Janice Person, your host, on Grounded by the Farm every other week as we talk about the foods we love. Okay, everybody, this is a special update bonus episode. We're catching back up with Christian Spears. Some of you who've been listening to the podcast for a while will remember in January, we talked to Christian about local craft brews, the microbrewery scene in Nashville. He purchases a lot of his products from a friend of mine who's a farmer. And on Facebook, I saw that they were doing a special seasonal, which was a wheat beer. And I realized a lot of us have missed our local restaurants, our local microbrews, our local everything this spring and summer. But very few of us have had a chance to sit down and talk to somebody like Christian who's been trying to manage that so they can still have their customer base and fully meet all the health and safety expectations in a COVID world. That's the conversation we're having today. Again, go to groundedbythefarm.com and just search for beer and you'll find the preceding episode as well as the farmer interview that went with that. And you'll find lots of other things too. They may not all be beer related, but lots of other food things. And now we're going to get right into that conversation with Christian. Thanks.
A few things have changed since the last time I talked to you.
Right. Let's go ahead and just get this started. I yesterday was on Facebook and another one of the Tennessee Brew Works live videos came on. It was so neat to just kind of see what was going on and hear about the seasonal beer. I asked Christian if we could just get an update. We're going to talk about something kind of serious about how it's been working in the pandemic and trying to keep your business not only surviving, but ultimately you want to thrive as a business. And
right.
It seems like the same thing for your employees, like trying to take care of all of them and your customers. And quite frankly, you guys are such a bright spot for so many. I know I love my local restaurants and even getting curbside.
Yeah.
It gives me such a rush. You were worried about the state of agriculture in our economy. Now we're worrying about you guys. So help me understand as somebody who lives it all day, I'm assuming every day.
Yeah.
When have you done what kinds of things? I know you've been creative. I know you've come up with different ideas, and yet you've been trying to keep everybody safe. So what's up?
Right. And we'll just start by saying, we're not even in a position, before this, we had talked about this is not a political discussion. And the truth is that we're not even in a position to, presume anything other than what we're being told is the state of affairs. We need to just take what we get, put our heads down and work our tails off with what we have at our disposal and go from there. So,
so it's not to question the policies that are impacting part of the business.
We can do that in our personal life, but in our business life here, we need to work with what we have and we can, it's maybe not as simple as I'm making it sound, but to kind of set the stage with that, we were very grateful that when the shutdown did happen here in Nashville, that there were a couple of extraordinary events with the giving us the ability to deliver our beer and our food to people's homes. We weren't not legally
I remember.
Prior,
I remember you guys making deliveries. That was awesome.
And then the curbside certainly helped a lot too. When I say it helped a lot, I mean it was absolutely our lifeline. Now, you hear things like, alcohol was doing extraordinarily well during the shutdown. And I've heard a lot of even my own friends say, well, you must be doing okay because liquor stores and grocery stores who sell beer in Tennessee were considered necessary businesses. And I hear that it's going great. Well, that's not necessarily true. So first of all, for smaller breweries, you have to remember a vast majority of our sales come through draft sales.
I would say tourism is probably your bigger driver and
sure.
Local happy hours and all those things that are happening in bars because your retail shop is only one piece for you.
Exactly. So, the bars and the restaurants are major recipients of our product and they were closed.
Yeah.
And in our case, it's about 70%.
Yeah.
And,
wow.
And so you got to remember, even our restaurant was technically closed. We were able to give it to people curbside and deliver it, but people were not able to come in and sit down and enjoy multiple helpings and so forth. So it was 70% of our business, and that was down 98%. So the 30%, sorry.
And for folks who don't live in the restaurant world, y'all had just come off of January and February, which may not be peak times in travel and tourism and hospitality. You know, as somebody who lives in that world with family, that's when my family is encouraged to take vacation time if they work for restaurants and stuff. So I know that it's not your best business time that led you into this.
Right. It went right up. The shutdown happened right on the verge of spring break in so many places. And spring break is when people start coming out. You know, they've come out of their winter reprieve. Their diets have ended. They want to go out to a restaurant. You know, maybe their January sabbatical is over from alcohol. And it's pretty much every year you can look at the data, and that's what happens.
Right.
December is a relatively slow month, other than right at the holidays themselves. And then January is the slowest month of the year. And then February starts to ramp up just a little bit. But March,
it's
April,
when you come
May,
into
June,
being.
That's when people like ourselves make all of our money. You know, that's when, and you know, and that helps subsidize the slower winter.
Yeah.
So now we've just come out of that winter, and this is not just Tennessee Brew Works. This is our industry. This is hospitality.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the way the world works for so many of the small businesses like you.
Right. And then, of course, the timing, you know, was very difficult in that sense. So, and, you know, look, this is just specific to ours, every industry. No one was spared. No one was spared. I mean, everybody had a really difficult time with this. So I don't want to say that we had it any worse than anybody else. But, like, you know,
as I told you when I asked, I kind of think you can speak for so many, and so few of us have had a chance to talk about this topic with, you know, like for me here, Gerard Kraft. I follow him on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, and I know what he's going through that he's shared there, but it's hard to get the full picture without a conversation. So you're speaking for all those kinds of folks.
Yeah, I mean,
through your experience, though, your experience.
It was just amazing. I have a friend who's a priest, and their church was not getting as much collection. And certainly my friend is a doctor, and they took massive pay cuts. And you know, with electives going away, you know, that's a revenue source for their hospitals. They lost teachers. You know, there's just everything just seemed to feel it across the board. No one was spared, and that was very unique situation. So again, I just want to say that we're just speaking about our industry. We're not saying we had it any worse than anybody else, but from that standpoint, the extraordinary things given to us by government to deliver curbside and deliver to people's homes was the lifeline for us. So that other 30% of our sales that is in the grocery stores and liquor stores, that actually saw growth. So we did see growth there. And that was helpful. But overall, the business was down a very large amount.
Yeah.
I would say for us specifically, we were very fortunate that our organization had seen very strong growth for an extended period of time. And there's a little bit of luck in here too, if you could call it that. It's all relative. But we were about to purchase some equipment, and we didn't. And so I was very happy to still have that cash. And I'm
sure the equipment company felt the hit, right? So it just goes on to other places, right? Because
they had been sized up, and I don't think they were surprised. You know, we didn't sign a contract and not.
Yeah, no, I understand.
It wasn't quite at that point, but we were seriously recognizing that we had to do something. And didn't yet, and fortunate that the cash is still there. So that was helpful. We certainly applied for our PPP. And the ultimate goal was we looked at our core group of employees, and we said, all right, what can we do to keep them employed? And then we strategically kind of looked at it and said, all right, you know, people who are like front of house, who rely largely on tips, we need to get them on unemployment ASAP. So the people that were this woman who works with me, I said, hey, I really need some help on the HR side. We're letting a bunch of people go temporarily. A lot of people don't know how to navigate unemployment, and also there's going to be a lot of people doing it at once. So we need to be, you know, expeditious here. And so her job was every day to call all the employees that came off our payroll and make sure they applied for unemployment and make sure they knew what to do. She even went so far as to make calls on their behalf and try to figure out how to answer their questions appropriately. So I think as an organization, I think we're kind of proud about that maneuver, because if you waited, if we waited to do that, it got a lot more difficult to navigate.
The websites were shutting down.
Yep, that's right.
The issues were so significant for people who were later in the process or who didn't know how to navigate it and waited a while before they did things, right? It just continued to mount up.
One of the things I think is somewhat unique about Tennessee Brew Works in regards to our employees is our turnover is, I think, relatively low. I've had our brew team together. I think the newest employee on our brew team has been here over 4 years. Wow. So in our kitchen, I think you've gotten to know Alex a little bit, and Rob, Kayla, and Jeff. That crew, I think the newest person's been here 2.5 years. So to have such low turnover in hospitality and manufacturing is a great thing. And I always say the best opportunity for us to be successful in our goals and our dreams is to stay together. But here we are now being forced to examine our situation and basically answer the most basic question, which is, what's the minimum amount we can operate on? What's the minimum amount of cost we can operate on? Because we don't know if this is going to go on for 4, 8 weeks, or 2 years. And at the moment, I knew how much I had, but I didn't know how. I had to make basic assumptions of what would it look like if we had no cash coming in whatsoever. How long could our lights stay on? And how many people can we keep on the payroll for how long? And now, as the PPP developed and the EIDL disaster relief program developed, we saw more options. And of course, as we were watching cases develop and that data coming in, we started to get a sense as to what the governor here was thinking, and we started to get a sense for how the mayor was thinking. We were kind of surprised and caught off guard a little bit on the July 2nd announcement that took us back to phase 2, not because the data didn't warrant it. It's just the timing of it was a little close
right
to
before
holiday.
The July 4th holiday and everything. Yeah.
If it just happened 2 or 3 days earlier, it would have been so much easier.
You've had things delivered in and prep and all that kind of stuff.
And employees hired. We brought back, we had doubled the size of our workforce coming in July 4th. So I don't see that as a mistake. I think it was as much of a good guess, based on the information we had at the time. And we don't want to turn those people back out again. So we've created a budget to keep them on and employed as until we can get back to phase 3 and phase 4, however long that might take. But you're not making great decisions. You're just making the best decisions possible under the crappy circumstances.
But not making a decision is paralyzing, right? And it's so easy to think, well, let's just wait and make a decision when we have better information. And in an environment like this, you don't have the ability all the time to keep waiting for the best information.
Right. So we just developed this decision tree, and we've certainly not gotten 100% right. I think we've gotten it as right as possible given the circumstance. It's been an incredible. It'd have been almost irresponsible to wait till July 2nd or July 3rd to try to maneuver for July 4th. You just, no business could do that. No one had that option. So having a July 2nd announcement was a little bit difficult. But again, we presume that the decisions that were made were warranted, and we don't have the luxury to really question that. Just work with the information we have. And put our heads down and work our tails off. So,
so one of the things, I've talked to you several times. I have family who are in hospitality, family who are bartenders and chefs and all those kind of things. Yeah. So I've seen it from what they're living, right?
Yeah.
People who've never gone on unemployment and suddenly going, oh my gosh, I've got to do unemployment. So my family is part of the employees that places like yours have. And coming back to work, you said you were doubling the team.
Yeah.
Coming back to work is kind of nerve-wracking for some people, right? So can you tell me how you managed that? So you said you were able to keep the business going, doing some limited function since March. How did you do that so that I know your team and I know how much you guys care about each other. So I assume you were looking at safety
Well, yeah,
of each person.
and we kind of created our own little quarantine groups within the company. So, there's beer in the tanks, and so we had to make sure that the beer is cared for. But we didn't want to just bring the whole brew team together. So what we did is we paired off. So people kind of decided, okay, this is my quarantine buddy. A good example of that would be Stephanie, who's one of our brewers, and she's our biochemist.
I think she was breaking down barrels when I was there.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. So and she, lives in the Dawson area, and Andy Bullaber, who's our lead brewer, also does, and they're friends socially as well. And said, all right, you guys are quarantine buddies. So they come in and would pair off and do labs and check the beer together, never mixing in with the other members of the team. And they just came and go, and they had a job to do. They didn't know what it was. They set their own hours. They just, they hit it, and they stay away from everybody else. So Matt, our head brewer, and Clark, who runs our packaging line, they were quarantine buddies, and they did the same thing. So Matt did his thing, and Clark, worked on the packaging line, made sure everything was staying tip top, and managing the cooler. And so, those are examples. So they didn't intertwine with the rest of us. At the front of the house area, Alex, our head chef, was coming in and running 100% of the food during the actual shutdown, or at least the initial month of the shutdown. So if you got curbside or delivery food from Tennessee Brew Works,
it wasn't the line chef, it was Alex.
It was the head chef cooking it for you, and it's possible that he walked it out to your car. So and the same thing with the beer and everything else. Thomas, our director of sales, and myself, we were pretty much here from mid-February to mid-May, 7 days a week. And so the three of us for the first month, and then our general manager came in, and Eric, and we're joined by Alyssa, our salesperson, and then Clark, actually, and Stephanie started engaging in delivery services.
Yeah.
So I always thought it was funny. I would see pictures on social media of somebody coming curbside to pick up the food, and they take a picture, and they're like, and somebody come on there and comment, that's the owner of the company putting that stuff in your trunk, and like, man, we're just trying to survive,
I think those people doing drive up were like me. I was so happy to see some people from my favorite restaurants and bars and stuff that I may have taken more photos of those poor people. Like, they probably had so many of us going, oh, look, I'm finally back. Like, you can see the logo, you can see my people, and that food is coming to me.
I got to tell you, it was kind of emotional. One of the things that we kept seeing happen was employees that we had laid off temporarily, of course, but had to lay off because of the pandemic. We would see come by and order from us for curbside pickup. And, walking out there and seeing our social media director, or seeing our photographer, or, some of our front of house employees coming by and ordering our food and beer to go.
Yeah.
It was really emotional. I don't know if you can quite see why or not when I say it, but
I absolutely can.
We had laid them off, and they were coming by and supporting us. And that was really awesome and cool. And so that really was inspiring. And then, and then we'd also have regulars, and man, I tell you what, and I know this is not just us, but the support of the local community. There was a lot of people who went out of their way to make sure that they were supporting us. And we'd see regulars, but it was surprisingly successful in that sense. I mean, certainly we were still way, way down, but people went out of their way to make sure we're okay. So,
well, it's really hard for people. So, like so many of us come into microbreweries like you, and we see what we're doing when we're there, right? Like, we're ordering the appetizers, we're ordering flights of beer, we're ordering whatever it is. I remember you guys, as everything slowed to a grinding halt fast. Most people order long necks when they're out shopping, right? That's what we pick up at the grocery store, is bottles or whatever. You guys suddenly had all these kegs that were prepared, ready to go out, because you do so much business with bars.
Yeah, that's right.
And you've kegged so much product because you are ready for that spring rush of people.
That's right.
I can remember that those were the kinds of things that a business like you guys had to deal with that I would have never thought about. But suddenly anybody who had kegs at home, anybody who had the ability to do things on tap were really encouraged. Hey guys, this is your opportunity. So what's the kinds of things we can do now? So for me, I'm far away from Nashville. So I did order masks like the ones you had.
I saw that.
I may have ordered birthday presents for somebody whose birthday's coming up, who loves microbrew and will love it. And now she'll probably hear this and she'll know it's definitely
she'll know what you
coming.
got.
She will know who she is. But what can people do? So where are you?
Yeah, I guess there's kind of two questions there. What can you do and where are we now? We were looking like we're going to get back to things by the end of June. We were actually getting, we've set up the restaurant as safe as possible. We've got everything at least 6 feet apart. We've got logs on our bathroom showing how often it's being cleaned. So you have that. Everyone's wearing masks, including patrons when they're not seated. And, as a result of our setup and our protocols, I don't think we can really get much more than 40% capacity, right? So when you seat everyone 6 feet apart, then you're never going to get anywhere near capacity unless you knock down the walls.
Yeah,
right?
It depends.
Or you see people on the ceiling.
If you're a huge square building, it's different than if you have narrow spaces, and it's just hard based on what your business looks like, how you can fit people in.
Right. And so whether, when they went to phase 3 and we're 75% or 50%, it's always been the same for us. It's always been this like 40% number. So, and coincidentally, they just put a curfew at 10 o'clock. We close at 10 o'clock already.
Yeah.
So we really haven't changed anything from that respect, but I think people's comfort level in the overall world has fluctuated. So business was starting to pick up. We were kind of sitting at that quote unquote capacity level many times in June, which still puts you, I think, in a very safe environment, at least given the guidelines provided to us. And no one here has gotten sick, diagnosed, and we've sent people off to get tested when there was any kind of derivative concern.
Yeah.
Friend of a friend of a friend got sick. And we've gone beyond the CDC guidelines in that respect. But, as that comfort level changed, we saw fluctuations in the public coming out. And I think one of the biggest issues we've had in general is just letting people know we're open, because there's a basic assumption that breweries aren't open in Tennessee, because the only way to be open in Tennessee is to have a full restaurant license and have a certain percentage of your sales
space that
be food. Yeah. And so we're only one of I think 3 breweries in the state. Maybe there's maybe a 4th.
Maybe Bosco's in Memphis. Do they count as a brewery? I love Bosco's for brunch.
I don't know. I guess Bosco's might. Yeah, Bosco's would be like a brew pub. Yeah, I mean, I think they would count. Yeah. So maybe 4 or 5 in the state that would qualify. People don't assume that we can, because we're a production brewery. You've seen our space. We're very much a production brewery. But we also happen to have this wonderful chef-driven kitchen, and this awesome chef leading the way. And so if you're familiar, great, no problem. You might be able to guess we're open. But if you're not, by virtue of being a brewery, you might guess we're not open. Yeah. And so getting that message out has been very important to our health, and just even be open for lunch. Somebody told me yesterday, do you realize you're one of the few places in town that's even open for lunch? And I was like, wow, we need to make sure other people know that too. But so where we are in that sense is the restaurant's doing okay. We've kept the full staff on that we brought back, and they're doing okay. It's not hitting it out of the park, but we're surviving, and we'll make it through this. The brewery has been hit a lot harder because the brewery has a lot less clients to sell to, so less bars available. We have had some nice little pockets of surprise in the good way. Again, it's all relative, but we just ran our numbers yesterday in East Tennessee. We're actually up year over year.
Go East Tennessee. Those people in Knoxville and Chattanooga.
Yeah. Actually, after being up triple digits in 2019 year over year, we're up we're up there now. And so a couple of our beers are really taking off.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. But what can people do to help us? I would say, first and foremost, support local and support local craft breweries. In general, I think like I said, there's this belief that people are doing great in our industry. They're not, even the grocery stores who are doing extremely well are putting bigger brands out there. So if you go to your grocery store, you'll see some of the big names, Spike Seltzer or macro brands of beer and so forth, are all over the floor. Craft breweries aren't necessarily
in a smaller area of the cooler.
Yeah, there's a big rush, by these bigger corporations to go out and they have the
marketing dollars.
People power the marketing dollars to demand that space. They realize that the best way to make their dollars is in those stores, and their focus goes there. And, smaller breweries like ourselves can't compete. So we have less room on the floor, less opportunities. So, some of the bigger names you'll hear have done very well. And we have seen an increase in sales, but it's not quite like these brands, these bigger names that can demand a lot more from their distributors and grocery stores. So
I'm hearing people could do a couple of things.
Yeah.
One, if they go into their stores, they could ask for it if they don't see it.
Yes, that is.
Like look for Tennessee Brew Works, which has, by the way, great packaging on every one of your.
Thank you.
I love your characters. They're just fantastic.
I was not drinking, by the way, this morning.
I think that is actually something that a lot of us should have more conversations with our grocers and whatever other businesses where you're buying those things. I love that you can have that conversation. And I used to have a grocery store that ordered certain things because I had asked for it a couple of times. And ultimately, I bought it every dang time I went in there. And I made sure all my friends knew it was there and that all of them considered buying it. Right. So
yes, that matters. That makes a big difference. Yes, I can tell you that makes a difference. If you call Fred,
it's a service, right? Like it's a service company. They want to give their customers what they want. So asking for local beers and things really does make a difference. And that's whether or not it's strange, but that can be big, huge national chains or small mom and pop kind of liquor stores or whatever. Because depending on different areas of the country, you may have different opportunities to buy local in different kinds of shops. So that's one thing I thought of immediately when you were talking.
Yes. Great interpretation of what I was saying. I mean, that is, what can you do? You can seek it out. You can ask for it. It will make a difference. And it is a great grassroots equalizer to the bigger budgets and the bigger ability of these bigger brands to demand more shelf space from the distributors and their grocers and liquor stores. And so we appreciate that. And, in general, like they did during the shutdown, please do curbside pickup. By the way, it's going to be the best deal around. We are constantly putting deals on to inspire curbside pickup. It is the same quality you were getting before. It is everything is the same. It's just a little bit more affordable. Of course, you have to get in your car and you have to drive, but when you get here, there's a sign outside with a phone number. You call it and we answer and we say backseat or trunk. And you tell us, and we walk it out and we put it in there. You can hang out in your AC of your car, listening to your music.
And quite frankly, that drive from home to curbside is like a moment of normalcy that you don't get when you're just in your house or something.
Exactly.
I gotta tell you.
You get out of the house.
It is a beautiful moment for me to get in the car and drive a little bit. I may drive for an hour before I place my order because I just need some of that. So that's a really good one. So, and I would say a lot of us probably kind of started pulling back on curbside and things because we knew places were opening and we were like, I don't know, like, can they swing it all? You guys are trying to swing absolutely everything. So you will let us know if you ever get overwhelmed, right? Like the great thing about small businesses is the flexibility you guys have. And you can go, oh, wait a minute. Our curbside is getting so big. We're going to change the location of where we meet you guys. And we're going to make that clear on the Facebook page and the whatever. It won't be a problem for you guys to accommodate it though.
No, it will not. I mean, it's expanding on one of your points, we're trying everything, right? And that's what we were doing during the shutdown. We wrote some stuff for our website to order online and transact contactlessly. Our GM developed, no contact menus and no contact payments. So you just come in, you pull up your phone, you flash your camera on it, and our menu pops up. When you're all done, you want to pay, you do it the same way. You don't have to touch anybody. And, innovations like that or things that we should have been considering anyway, because it saves paper from the menus, for example. But it adds a level of convenience. But the pandemic has forced us to develop these things now. My comment to Thomas at one point when we were working on things and we're just trying to get them live and try to cut out all the issues. I said, I've always wanted to develop these things. I just didn't want to do it with a gun to my head.
Right,
So.
right. Like the fire was a little bit more than he necessarily wanted.
Right.
Well, and so one of the things with curbside, and I can say, I've introduced you, I think, to Gerard Kraft. He's got a restaurant called Pastaria there in Nashville.
Yes. Yep.
I love him so much. His restaurants are amazing. His whole family, Susie and the kids, they're a great whole crowd of people. And his hospitality manager, Georgie, I love them all, the whole team.
Yeah, they're a great restaurant.
But they've been doing a deli service for lunch, like a caprese, like mozzarella sandwich. And I had seen it a few times, but it was always like I had specific.
I haven't eaten yet, so be careful. Okay. You're making me hungry.
I will. So I had seen it a few times, and every time I really wanted it. But that was like a day where I already had lunch cooking, or I did it. And anyway, so I got it the other day, and I made sure, like most places have some stuff you can order for a little bit later, right? So with you guys, when you're ordering your meal, you can get a few 6-packs. You don't have to drink them all today, right?
Yeah, exactly.
With them, I was able to get olive oil, some pasta sauce and fresh pasta and all these kind of things, right? And I went and picked it up. And I just did like an Instagram story and Instagram pictures and put it on my Facebook and stuff. The number of people who didn't realize they were open was astonishing. Yes. So
awareness.
One, I was lucky enough to know they were there. And when I followed up with it, I know I helped drive more business there.
Yes.
What a great feeling for me. And, Gerard has been so nice about saying, thank you so much for doing that. And I'm like, but I was so happy to have it. I was sharing and I felt a little guilty because I knew I'd make people jealous, but also people in St. Louis could go do the same thing another day. Right. So that's something else people can do to help businesses like yours is when they have the moment, help drive that awareness, help share the Facebook post, help whatever it is. And kind of help more people go, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I could run past there. Let me just make a call instead of going through some drive-through place.
That is such a huge thing, that awareness, and making sure people even know we're open for lunch and dinner, and then that awareness to seek us out at the store. I mean, it is, like I said, it's the most important thing right now is letting people know that they can, should, and we're available to support.
So let me ask you about the new beer, because I think it gets back to the farm premise of my podcast. We're going to pretend that this is deeply interconnected, but it really, truly is. And you guys do so much stuff. You do so much stuff with local farmers, and
not as much right now as we'd like.
You've been so aware
too. Yeah,
but you've been aware of their economy and things like that. And so you guys have, as I understand it, Walk the Lime is a wheat beer.
Yeah.
I watched a Facebook Live yesterday where he was telling me all about Walk the Lime. So that's a seasonal beer that you have. Tell us a little bit about it.
But this is 100% wheat beer. That's very unusual for a brewery, certainly at the production level, to do 100% wheat. I think that is a little bit of a byproduct of our Belgian mash filter, which we utilize in the process, which is also certainly somewhat unique in the United States. We get our wheat from
Brandon Witt.
There you go. Yep, that's right. Now, and just
we have the whole episode with Brandon. I'll make sure I link back to it. But
and just a kind of a side comment, talking about how everyone's intertwined, and of course, by virtue of not making as much beer, because the slowdown.
You're not buying as much wheat or barley
or barley. Yeah. So he's affected as well. So everybody is affected in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
So they might be socially distanced in the fields, but their end users aren't buying as much product. But this beer is beautiful. It's got 100% wheat. We put fresh lime zest in it, and just to give it a little bit of kink, we put a little bit of pureed key lime in there, just a little bit.
That's what I heard.
Very easygoing. I say it's a patio pounder. It's an easy drinker. For the lawn, hanging out, and it's coming in about 5.4%. And this beer has actually been around for a pretty long time, back to our first full year in existence. There was a little bit different version each year as we've improved upon it. And then this is the best version of this beer we've ever made.
And this is your most popular seasonal you have. Like
it is,
when we interviewed over the winter, it was the sweet potato stout.
Years ago. Felt like years ago. Yeah.
It was back in the olden times where we
back
could
in the days,
like shake hands and hug people.
Yeah. Yeah. Years ago.
But so if people aren't familiar with your beer and they like summer beers, because then Walk the Lime is a really good way to go to try something summery and new. And you could take several 6-packs of that in the car.
You can. It falls, the alcohol level in that beer is low enough that I think you could have a few responsibly, certainly with some food. And, with the Tennessee summer, we got to be very cognizant of
dehydration.
So I think, we like to focus on lower alcohol beers in the summertime for that reason. It's just a lot more functional. But this, has a little bit of a fruited element to it, but it's meant to be very balanced in that sense. There's been a bit of a movement towards heavily fruited beers in the craft beer world, and I would not put this in that category whatsoever.
It's just a hint.
Yeah, we believe in good. Yeah, we believe in good attenuation on our beers. They tend to be a little drier. Which I think helps with the caloric level as well, and then a little bit more sessionable, certainly in the Tennessee heat. So this checks so many boxes. It's not by accident that it's our most popular seasonal. And like I said, I really truly mean this with all my heart. This is the best version of this beer we've ever made. So if you see this out there in the market, definitely grab it, because despite COVID and the slowdown that we've been talking about, this beer is moving very fast, very fast. So if you see it, grab it, drink it, because it's not going to be around long, even in this environment. So yeah, how's that for a plug? But it's all true.
Well, I set you up for the plug, so there you go. I want to make sure people know how to find you guys. So I'll put your Facebook and your Instagram and all the things, Twitter, and reshare the post we did before, so they can sort of see your overall philosophy about working with local farmers and things along that line. I really appreciate you having this conversation with me, because I know this is like such a hard situation to be in, and it's changed so much from week to week and things like that. It really helped me understand it, and I think a lot more people will better understand. And if we're not in the Nashville area, they can buy the T-shirts. And my great nephew still wears his Tennessee Future Brewer shirt.
Oh wow, that's awesome!
His little onesie. He is adorable in that puppy.
That's great. Yeah.
But I think a lot of us can apply what we're talking about to all the businesses in our local area. So, hopefully this not only brings more awareness to the fact that you guys are open, that you guys are anxiously waiting those lunch orders right now. You're probably getting them in, and you need to be busy serving those up. Yeah. Are you still making deliveries to the car, Christian?
Yes. On occasion, you'll see me.
You've brought so many more back now, so it may be not as common.
We're not doing the only delivery we're doing outside of curbside is we do subsidize with Postmates and they take a little piece out, but we do offer that if you want to have it brought to your home. But again, the best way to get the best bang for your buck and to put the most into our organization is to do curbside.
And if folks are like me, they're welcome to tip liberally right now, because People
people
who
been
have
wonderful.
lived on tips
That's been wonderful.
are really
I appreciate
thriving. It's helping people meet some of the things with the cuts in service they have had.
Yeah. And we do have dine-in service, and I can.
And your patio is beautiful.
We have a big patio, and I can look at you dead in the eyes and tell you that we are proceeding as safe as possible with the guidance that we've been given to make people feel comfortable and safe in here. We're very fortunate and grateful that we're able to even, do that and have the team here that we have and have them employed, throughout this. So many unknowns. I mean, I don't think that, we'll ever, even under the circumstances, I don't think we're going to feel anywhere remotely normal until music comes back to Nashville.
Oh my God. Live music.
Yeah. We've got a little bit, we have it on stage a little bit, very limited fashion now.
And you've featured some people on your Facebook page. I've seen a couple of segments with different people singing.
Yeah. Well, not to get on a tangent, but we did this thing right out of the gates called Tip Jar Live.
That's what it was.
So we just laid off temporarily a bunch of employees, and they were trying to get them unemployment as quick as possible. So we started this thing called Tip Jar Live, and we just set up through third party a Venmo account to allow people to tip the employees and tip the musician that was playing, and then we just live streamed it through our Facebook and Instagram accounts. And as a result of that, we were able to get money put into the pockets of our temporary laid off employees during that period.
And musicians, both.
And the musicians directly. And that was awesome. That was very successful. It gave us a little personal morale boost and a little surprise to them in all the best ways. So as we opened back up, we continued Tip Jar Live. In some cases, the musicians are on stage and they're streaming. In some cases, they're just streaming from their homes. But we've continued that effort. We're just not doing the tip jar to the employees. It's just going directly to musicians. So it gives the musicians a greater opportunity to generate income for themselves during a period where most music venues are closed. So I like I said, I can't wait till we're in a world where it's safe to have the music live again in Nashville, and won't feel normal in any way, shape, or form until that happens. So
it may be a little while, but we'll get there.
Might be a little while.
All right, Christian, I'm going to go because I know Matt is sitting there waiting to talk to you about all things beer. And we took longer than expected because we had some delays getting started. So I really appreciate your time today. And
Thank you for having me on.
Thanks a lot.
All right, so let me know what you think of doing bonus episodes like this. It's not going to take the place of the regular every other week conversation with a farmer. Have a great conversation with a gentleman by the name of Lloyd Johnson. Lloyd is in his 80s, a black farmer here in the St. Louis metro area. And I met him in December, and I knew that other people would want to hear his story. So first visit back out to a farm for me was to go out to Mr. Johnson's this past weekend. That will be up on the podcast apps and on the website soon. So make sure you look for that. And as always, we'll have some great photos to go along with this story on the website. That's groundedbythefarm.com. And you can find us on social media everywhere. On Facebook, it's Ask the Farmers. But you can also get there by facebook.com/groundedbythefarm. Thanks so much.